Well, good evening, everyone, and Happy New Year. I'd like to now call the 2025 organizational meeting of the Putnam County Legislature to order. At this time, I'd like to call upon Legislative Movement to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Legislative Movement. Please remain standing. I'd like to call on Legislator Adjournment to lead us in the legislative prayer.
We seek blessings on the tasks before us. Bless our efforts with clear insight, our deliberations with wisdom, our work with clarity and accuracy, and our decisions with impartiality.
Amen.
This time, I would ask the Clerk of the Legislature for roll call.
District 1, Legislator Montgomery. Here. District 2, Legislator Goldman.
Present.
District 3, Legislator Adjournment.
Present.
District 4, Legislator Russo.
Present.
District 5, Legislator Elmer.
Here.
District 6, Legislator Yonke.
Present.
District 7, Legislator Birmingham.
Here.
District 8, Legislator Sage.
Present.
District 9, Legislator Trout.
Present.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. At this time, I would like to open the floor to nominations for Chair of the Legislature for 2025. Legislator Yonke.
Thank you, Chairman Farmland. I'm honored to nominate Amy Sage for the position of Chair of the Putnam County Legislature. Amy has done a fantastic job as the Deputy Chairwoman of the Putnam County Legislature for the years 2023 and 2024. Amy is steadfast and calm in her demeanor. It makes her the best candidate to be the chair of this legislature. Amy's always well prepared for her work here on the legislature. She has chaired the Health Committee for the past 6 years. I've said this before about Amy. In government, it's hard to find someone who uses their heart, their head, and their spine all at the same time. I can assure you that Amy is a rare individual that uses all of these. For the past 7 years, Amy has been well prepared to do her job and does so in a respectful, professional, and compassionate way, and I'm honored to nominate Amy Sage for the position of Chair of this legislature.
Thank you, Legislator Yonke. Second, Legislator Elmer.
It's my honor to second Amy Sage for Chairman of the Putnam County Legislature. She will do an outstanding job.
Thank you, Legislator Elmer. Any other nominations? I'll open up the floor to brief discussion if there is any.
No comment. So I'm disheartened that this legislature chooses to not follow tradition by appointing a senior member to be the chair. It's obvious that, even if I did nominate Bill Goldman, we wouldn't have the votes. And I took that to heart as I was thinking about this. In the past, I've gone against my better judgment and gone along with it, and thinking it would serve the people of Putnam and the people that I serve in my district, but to no avail, as you've all witnessed and the public's witnessed, that regardless of who I nominate, even if I extend that olive branch, I seem to continue to get met with great resistance and venom. But yeah, so today I am disheartened that we're not following tradition, and my colleague Bill Goldman, who is the senior member, because we put ourselves in little cliques here on this legislature, and to the detriment of the taxpayer. At times it's cost the taxpayer great amounts of money. For example, the Bonadeo report was certainly a mechanism to go after someone of the other party. And we've put ourselves in corners here as the legislature, and it's, again, cost the taxpayers money to serve ourselves. So I'm hopeful that in 2025 we can get beyond that. I will be supporting Legislator Sage, and I'm hoping that we can approach this new year with common sense and efficiency and civility. So with that, I will be supporting Legislator Sage.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, with that, I'd ask Clerk for a roll call vote on the motion. Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Chairman. This legislative body in the past has changed the chairperson every 2 years, giving all legislators the opportunity to be the chair and to direct the legislature in a way that they feel would be the best way to move forward. As a senior legislator, which was just mentioned, who has not been the chair, I will not have the opportunity to be the chair of this body. The residents of Putnam County expect us to work on the issues that matter. We all have our perspectives and points of views. There have been many times when we are frustrated with the decisions that are made, but we all have to work together to get the job done. Last year we played with fire on many different fronts. If we've learned anything from last year, we learned that we dealt with fire and brimstone on many different settings, and it really wasn't very positive. A legislative body that listens and respects the other legislators what they have to say is what I'm looking forward to for the coming year. I would like to turn the page from 2024 to 2025. I have a commitment that moving forward, there will be no bullying going on this legislature. This legislative body will let everyone on this body speak on a civil way, civil conversations on the issues that are at hand. If a legislator would like to bring something up for a discussion, it will not be blocked. It will be discussed and brought up in a committee. We will work together to solve these issues that we have going forward. Because of this and the commitments that I've received, I will support and vote for Amy Sage as chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Legislator. Anyone else? Okay, with that, I ask Madam Clerk for a roll call vote on the motion.
Legislator Adnesio.
Yes.
Legislator Birmingham.
Yes.
Legislator Crowley.
Yes.
Legislator Elmer.
Yes.
Legislator Goldman.
Yes.
Legislator Yonke.
Yes.
Legislator Montgomery.
Yes.
Legislator Russo.
Yes.
Legislator Sage.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you for your comments. Appreciate that.
Let's thank our county clerk.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate all of your comments. So moving on to agenda item number 5 is the appointment of the Deputy County Chair. Do I have any nominations for Deputy County Chair? Legislator Adnesio.
Thank you, Chairman Sage. Legislator Elmer has served as chairman of Physical Services Committee and a member of Audit, Rules, Enactments, and Intergovernmental Relations. His extensive knowledge of water quality has been an invaluable resource for his constituents in Carmel. With a professional demeanor and exceptional leadership skills and the ability to communicate ideas effectively, he has become an invaluable asset to this legislature. His contributions consistently demonstrate his commitment to excellence, and I am honored to nominate Legislator Elmer for Deputy Chair.
Thank you, Legislator Adnesio. I would like to second the appointment for Deputy County Chair for Legislator Elmer. Legislator Elmer has proven to be a fair and principled legislator and committee chair. He has been the chair of Fiscal Services Committee and been a member of the Audit, Administrative, and Rules, Enactments, and Intergovernmental Relations Committees. He takes with him decades of experience in the private sector, and he applies this to make our county a better place. He works collaboratively with his colleagues and is always professional and respectful. He has proven to be an asset to this legislature, and I'm honored to second the nomination for Deputy County Chair for Legislator Elmer. Are there any other nominations? Discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Legislator Andesio.
Yes.
Legislator Birmingham.
Yes.
Legislator Crowley.
Yes.
Legislator Elmer.
Yes.
Legislator Goldman.
Yes.
Legislator Yonke.
Yes.
Legislator Montgomery.
Yes.
Legislator Russo.
Yes.
Chairman Amy Sage.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. I will do my best to serve the people of Putnam County and to help all of us do the best that we can. Thank you.
Moving on to agenda item number 6 is the reappointment of County Auditor. Resolved that Michelle Alfano-Sharkey be reappointed for the position of County Auditor with all the rights, privileges, duties of the office set forth in the Putnam County Charter as permitted by law for a 3-year term period ending December 31st, 2027. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Agenda item. Number 7 is the adoption of the legislative manual.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to adopt a legislative manual for the year 2025 with some revisions that I believe you all have. I believe in our, well, first of all, I think I'll need a second for that.
I'm going to second that.
Thank you. I believe each of you in your packets have 2 sets of legislative manuals. One set has the amendments in it. That would be the set that has the one that has my letter on it when I was not on the legislature. It was a few days before I took office. And then the second one is the one that has been in power or in force last year. And what I'd like to do is, if I could just walk through some of the changes that have been made. I know you're all intimately familiar with respect to the manual as it existed prior to tonight, but just to highlight some of the changes, there's a new section 5, which talks about the location of meetings of the county legislature, the Budget and Finance Committee, and seating arrangements with respect to not only our full board meetings, but also the committee meeting for the Budget Committee, as well as the reception of
Chairwoman,
the...
did you call for a discussion, please? There was a motion, there was a second.
And now we have discussion.
You want to have a discussion?
Yes, this is discussion.
That's
It was
what I,
seconded, and now there's discussion.
Okay.
that's what I thought I was doing. I'd be happy to defer, but...
Yeah, if you could, I would like
Actually, I said I'd be happy to. I didn't say I would.
Okay.
But I would like to just go through some of the changes first, if I could.
Why don't we do this in committee? I make a motion to table this.
Madam Chair, I believe I have the floor.
Legislator Birmingham.
Thank you. Madam Chair, we do have, as I said, my fellow colleagues, we have section 5, which talks about the location of meetings of the county legislature, also the reception by this legislature of the state of the county address, as well as the reception of the Budget and Finance Committee with respect to the tentative budget. That's the first change. The second change is on the next page. It's in section 2, enabled to appoint standing committees. That's one of the powers of the chair. That's merely just a housekeeping change. It, notwithstanding, was put in the previous version as 2 words. It's 1 word. On the next page, we have the rule with respect to the chair and her power to vote. That's been amended. And the next change would be under Roman numeral 3, section B. It talks about meetings of the committees. It's interesting to note that up until now, we've never had any rule about where our committees meet. This rule merely just clarifies that each of the standing committees of the legislature will be meeting either at the David D. Bruin County Office Building or here in this chamber. We have had those instances pretty much throughout our existence, but there have been times where those committee meetings are requested to be held in other places of the county, and while that's a good thing, it's a big burden on our legislative staff to get the AV equipment, to get the materials. And having said that, though, we can always amend it if it's a real issue where perhaps either of these rooms don't have enough room. We could always amend those rules. So that's not really locked in either, but just as a way to make a regular order of things, to have those meetings held either in our regular committee meeting room or here in these chambers, as they have in the past. The next change is rule number 7. Again, it speaks to the appeal of the decision of the chair. And then I'll come back to rule number 9 in a moment. And then, yes, the last 3 new rules I'll mention are rules number 31, rule 32, and rule 33. I'd like to mention that rules 31 and 32 merely codify powers we already have. Our county charter gives this legislature the power to administer oaths or affirmations. That's set forth in Article 2 of the county charter. What this does is merely puts it into our manual to give us a process as to how that can happen. And I can read it, but you all have it in front of you. You've all had it for a week. We all have had it for a week. But I will note that this is not something, a legislative rule that is new to Putnam County. In my review of this manual, I did go over several other county legislatures and saw what rules they had. This rule, almost verbatim, comes out of the Erie County, New York legislative manual. So it's something that is quite regular and quite proper that other counties have leaned on when it comes to their legislative manual. Similarly, in the proposed Rule 32, it talks about legislative subpoenas. Again, that's a power that this charter that we operate under gives us the power to issue. This not only embodies that into this manual for process purposes, but also, again, it's something that I've quite honestly lifted from another county, which is the Rockland County legislative manual. They have this in their legislative manual almost verbatim, not quite. And simply, it's the ability to, which again, we already have in the charter, but it's the codifies our ability to issue subpoenas to ask people to show up at our meetings upon request, and also allows us to issue subpoenas for materials, papers, and any investigatory issues we may have. And Rule 33 is something that is new, certainly to this rule, or this manual, and it kind of puts into place our process for confirming appointments to department heads. As we all know, the county executive under Article 3 has the ability and power to name appointments to various department heads and units of the county government. And in the 9 years I've been on this legislature, we've had appointed to this body great county department heads that have been vetted by this legislature, and even, not even through, but certainly through this administration as well. And I don't submit this rule as any criticism of any of the prior processes we've had, but kind of being like a process nerd, I think it's important that we at least have a process put in place, and this is what that does. What I would like to do is, and that's except for an amendment I'll make in a moment, which is just a conforming amendment. It's more bookwork than anything else. I would like to read, in all fairness, a letter that was submitted to all of us by one of my constituents, Lynn Eckhart. A lot of us know Lynn. She served as my town councilman, Paul's town councilman, for 2 terms. She's very active in our local government, and she, as we know Lynn always does, she always keeps an eye on government activities and boards, and she got a look at these rules, and certainly the proposed rules that I'm proposing, and she asked that her letter be read into the record, and I'd like to do that because she took the time to write it. Quite frankly, she raises a lot of good points here, good points that I think would be well addressed in a committee meeting, perhaps coming up in January, depending on who the rules chairman is. So with your indulgence, I would just, and after this I'll yield the floor, but I just want to read her letter because it does raise a lot of good points, and quite frankly, points that I don't have any disagreement with. So if I could, it'll be quick. And again, this is from Lynn Eckhart, a resident of the town of Southeast. Dear members of the legislature, after the local 2024 Putnam County elections, many voters have been looking forward to some new faces and positive energy on the legislature. Transparency, good government, and sound fiscal policy are at the top of most voters' lists. Thus, it was very disappointing to read some of the changes made to the legislative handbook, if she's referring to the manual, and she refers specifically to rule number 31, and that is the rule with respect to oaths or affirmations. If you all can take a moment to think back to the first time you spoke at a public meeting, you may remember how difficult it was. Will I say the right thing? Will I forget my point? Will I sound like an idiot? It's simply not easy, even under the best circumstances. Your new policy that allows and can require an oath or affirming truthfulness is incredibly burdensome hurdle to add to the free and fair public discourse. As it is, the public is relegated to comments only after the full meeting and only to items on the agenda. This additional barrier, although not pertinent to speaking on any agenda item, is unnecessary, unfair, and even worse, intimidating. It will limit public input during the committee meetings. As the public becomes less and less inclined to attend meetings and less inclined to engage in local government, elected officials should encourage rather than discourage civic participation. Legislators work for the public. Thus, the public should have the reasonable and easy access to express their opinions. Rule 31 is the antithesis of open government. Please consider Rule 31 and remove it from the handbook. Again, she means the manual. At a minimum, please table this item for further discussion. Then she goes on to talk about proposed Rule 32, and that has to do with legislative subpoenas. Proposed Rule 32 also merits discussion and should be tabled or removed from the handbook. Many of your constituents hold the optimistic view that new legislators in a new year will make Putnam County government more responsive to fresh ideas and welcome public input. This can start now by removing 31 from the legislative handbook. As I cannot attend this meeting on Monday night, I would ask that this letter be read into the record. Thank you for your consideration. Sincerely, Lynn Eckhart. Thank you, Madam Chair. And again, I don't find anything I disagree with this. In fact, I think Lynn made some great points. And as I mentioned earlier, Rule 31 was taken from another legislative manual, that of Erie County, New York. And I tried to improve it to make it better than what I saw in Erie County by exempting any oath or affirmation for any member of the public in an open meeting, like this full board meeting. Lynn raises some good points that perhaps that doesn't go far enough. And certainly, if this comes before a committee that I sit on, I would certainly be willing to incorporate all of Lynn's comments into Rule 31. I think they're more than fair. And I do think that just finishing up, speaking about all of the, not only the full legislative manual, but the what I think are good and honest and transparency-related amendments, I think they should be considered and voted on tonight. So I thank you, everybody, for your indulgence, and thank you for your time. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Legislator Montgomery.
I make a motion to adopt the legislative manual as is without the changes.
I'm sorry, is that in the point of order, Madam Chair? If I could ask a question, is that in the form of an amendment or is that a separate resolution?
This is
I just
a
want
motion
someone
to adopt the existing legislative manual.
Unfortunately, your motion is not subsidiary to mine. It probably can't be entertained unless it's an amendment. Hint.
I don't understand. I'm making a motion to adopt the manual that's in existence without
Right,
changes.
but that motion is not subsidiary to my motion. It has to be either a motion to amend or it has to be a motion to reconsider. My motion's on the floor and deserves either amendment or consideration.
Discussion.
I'll make a motion to table this because we have not discussed it in committee. There's been no precedent whatsoever for the 6 years that I've been on this legislature that we've ever adopted these rules at a full meeting. The public has not had an opportunity to comment. As you see, one member of the public weighed in. No members of the public were invited to the committee. These changes you're considering affect the public greatly. And in addition, our attorney is saying that this isn't ready. We all received a memo from our attorney that's saying these changes are not ready. And I don't know when anybody on this legislature has ever allowed anything to go to the full meeting without being considered in committee where the public can vet it as well as us. I mean, it wasn't last year, I think, when I asked to put a certificate on the reorg meeting, and I wasn't allowed to because it was something new. So this is something new that deserves to go to committee. I'm making a motion to table it.
Second.
I'll second.
Roll call vote.
Okay, this is the table.
To table.
Legislator Advision,
No.
Legislator Birmingham,
No.
Legislator Crowley,
Yes.
Legislator Elner,
No.
Legislator Goldman.
Table it,
So that's a yes.
yes.
Legislator Yonke,
No.
Legislator.
Camps. We're in camps here. This is such a disservice to the public.
Be respectful.
Yeah, I am. Be respectful to the public and get out of your little club.
No discussion on a motion to table.
Legislator Montgomery,
Yes.
Legislator Russo,
Yes. They're appalling.
Chairwoman Sage.
No.
Motion fails.
So back to the discussion on the original motion. Someone who hasn't spoken. Legislator Crowley.
I'd like to ask council their opinion of the proposed changes to the legislative manual and how it could affect us.
Madam
As you
Chair.
explained.
Go ahead.
As you explained.
If I could raise a point of order, I'm sorry. Go ahead, I'm sorry, I thought you finished.
Through the chair, I would like to defer to council, please, if I can, to explain the memo, or we can read the memo out loud. You can request to read the memo out loud if you would like to. But I would like for it to be read to the public.
Madam Chair, point of order.
Yeah.
I'd like to remind my colleagues of rule number 13, recognition of persons not members of the legislature. Persons who are not members of the legislature may, by consent, be permitted to speak during debate. Such consent shall be given by the chair, subject to a 2/3 override by members of the legislature who are present. I have not yet heard permission of the chair.
Legislator Crowley, do you have any further comments?
I would like to request
This is a
that.
legislative discussion, so you can discuss it.
So I don't have a copy. I can read it from my phone if you'd like me to. Sure. I'd like to read the concerns of our
I can read
council.
it if you'd like. I can read it if you'd like. Through the chair, if I may.
Share a copy.
So this came from our interim council, Conrad Pasquale. I'm writing in connection with item 7 on tonight's agenda related to the adoption of the legislative manual for 2025. I appreciate it if you forward this correspondence to each legislature. In reviewing the backup for the organizational meeting, I noticed several proposed amendments to the current manual prior to moving forward on these changes. I wanted to share several items that should be noted and considered. On number 2, section B, following a person's physical limitations and ability to participate in these meetings while seated, as opposed to standing that involve the ADA and related laws, allowing for the alternative on an as-needed basis may be appropriate. Rule 31, though I would have to conduct more detailed research, I do not believe an oath or affirmation can be required absent formal legal authority, thus implementing such through the legislative manual will be strictly formalistic or procedural without legal force or effect. Rule 32, for the sake of clarity, this section should state the subpoena power may only be exercised if related to a study, audit, or investigation conducted by the legislature. Charter section 2.04. Rule 33. Initially, there may be an equal protection concern for potential appointee or employee, as the requirements only apply to some confirmations by the legislature and not all confirmations by the legislature. A, the annual statement of financial disclosure is only required for certain employees with a potential appointee may not be until confirmed. Second point, the written disclosure of campaign contributions may touch upon constitutional issues related to freedom of speech and association. B, New York has numerous restrictions about who may require a background check and what may be considered determining employment. So further research may be appropriate to ensure that the county or municipal power employer does not violate any applicable rules or restrictions. C, as I have not observed a similar provision, further research could ensure such action is otherwise lawful or permissible. As stated, that was D, as stated previously, there's a question of authority or enforceability that should be explored. I believe it may be prudent to move forward with the adoption of the manual in its current form to give us opportunity to discuss the potential legal issues and exposure to the county that could result from amendments, as well as conduct further research into these items as necessary. So this came from our interim legal counsel, Conrad Pasquale, today at 1:15. It was received by Diana Sherfield. So I think that with this, I would really like it if we took the time as a body to reflect upon what's put before us before we make, harsh decisions that could leave us exposed and the constituents we represent financially exposed. Thank you.
Legislator John.
Thank you, Chairwoman. I'd like to thank Legislator Birmingham for all his hard work and his thorough research. These are our rules. I'm in favor with every one of them. Thank you.
Legislator Allen, did you?
For legislator.
Anyone else? Legislator Nassar, just keeping Montgomery's on a chance to speak. Legislator Goldman.
Thank you, Chairwoman. I'd like to thank Legislator Birmingham for also putting some more work into this. But there are many changes that are on these, in these 30 pages that we have here. And it's not fair to the public and to the legislature here if we can't really ask our council or anyone else to come in to discuss this at the full legislative meeting. The only way to really do this properly and to be fair to Putnam County residents is to adopt the current legislative manual the way it is and bring it into committee, whether it's the next committee, well, it will be February, but that's when the next committee meeting is for rules, and discuss it then, and then hash through whatever really has to be changed and not has to be changed, so we can come up with a very good legislative manual moving forward. Thank you.
Legislator Allen.
If I heard correctly, the closing of the letter by Conrad Pasquale, you said that we should adopt these as is and then fix them in committee. And I think that's an excellent approach, and that's why I will be supporting this as is.
Anyone else who hasn't had a chance to speak?
You gave
Legislator Russo?
Birmingham
I'm sorry,
half an hour.
There were other legislators who haven't had the opportunity to speak, and I'm waiting. Legislator Russo.
Thank you, Chairwoman. To correct what was said, Conrad said, I believe it may be prudent to move forward with the adoption of the manual in its current form, to give us an opportunity to discuss the potential legal issues and exposure to the county that could result from the amendments, as well as conduct further research into these items as necessary. Thank you.
Anyone else? Legislator Montgomery.
Less than 3 weeks ago, this legislature, Physical Services Committee, our new deputy chairing that committee, put legislation forward that was going to cripple the public, cripple farmers. This legislation cripples the public as far as them being able to participate.
Legislative manual.
This,
We're not making
I just said this proposed manual does the same. So bit by bit, week after week, we're chipping away at the public's opportunity to contribute and to participate in government. With that, I would like to make a motion to amend the legislative manual that's on the agenda.
We're still discussing.
Point of order, if there's an amendment being made, if it's seconded, it certainly, that is a subsidiary motion to the one on the table, and to the extent Legislator Montgomery's amendment has a second, we can certainly discuss it, consider it, and vote on it.
Would you like to second my amendment?
What's the amendment?
What is it?
Section 5. Section 5, I will read it. Location of meetings of the county legislature and the Budget and Finance Committee seating. The organizational meeting of the legislature, all regular meetings of the county legislature, the regular or special meeting of the county legislature, held for the purposes of receiving the state of the county address, the meeting of the Budget and Finance Committee held pursuant to Charter Section 7.04B2, tentative budget presentation, and the regular or special meeting of the county legislature held pursuant to the Charter Section 7.04B5, adoption of annual budget shall be held in the courtroom of the historic courthouse. B, the seating of the members of the county legislature at the legislative dais during any of the meetings set forth in paragraph A above shall be in the following order. The chair shall occupy the center seat of the legislative dais. I just wonder how Franklin Roosevelt would feel if this was presented while he was presiding. I just can't help but wonder how someone who's actually disabled feels about this. The remaining members of the legislature shall be seated at the legislative dais from left to right when viewing the legislative dais from the west, in such an order so that the county legislator from District 1 is seated at the leftmost seat, and the remaining legislators, with the exception of the legislator serving as chair, shall be seated in clockwise direction thereafter in ascending numeric order. It shall be within the discretion of the chair of the legislature to seat any legislative staff at the legislative dais. Except as noted in paragraph C below, no other person may be seated at the legislative dais. At any regular or special meeting of the county legislature held for the purpose of receiving the state of the county address and the meeting of the Budget and Finance Committee held pursuant to section 7.04B2 of the county charter, the county executive shall be seated at the legislative dais at the right side of the chair. The county executive shall deliver the state of the county address or tentative budget presentation from a seated position. My amendment would be to remove this entire section from the manual. I live in a district that is not geographically convenient for my constituents to attend these meetings in the first place, and I was hoping actually for an opportunity to open up some of these meetings being held on my side of the county. That's how we serve the public. So my amendment is to remove number 5.
I'd like to call that question, Madam Chair.
Is there a second?
I move to call the question. That needs a second, and then we can vote on calling the question, and then we can vote on the amendment itself.
Legislator Goldman had his hand up.
I'm sorry.
Comment.
Well, then I stand corrected. I hadn't seen anybody. Our rules clearly require that anybody who hasn't spoken yet must be able to speak prior to calling the question. My apologies, Bill. I didn't see your hand up.
Thank you very much. I agree with, let's say, Montgomery. This is really not a good idea. Putnam County is a wonderful place. We have a lot of different things to showcase here in Putnam. There's a value in promoting the site that we have on the western side of the county and on the eastern side of the county. The previous county executive had her State of the County meetings in the Putnam County Golf Course many times. And they were nice, productive meetings. I believe we should have committee meetings also throughout the county, not just in this building or the building next door. I do think that it's kind of ridiculous, and we should not put this in the legislative manual. So I would agree with my colleague Montgomery.
So the first to remove that section, and a second to remove that section. Roll call vote, please.
Was there a second?
To remove the amendment. Yeah, Bill was.
Well, I've withdrawn my motion to call the question. I think now we're actually voting on the amendment.
Voting on the amendment.
Legislator Montgomery's
I don't
amendment.
think there was a second.
I thought Bill seconded your
Bill
motion.
seconded.
Oh, he did. I'm sorry.
Thanks.
So roll call vote on the amendment.
Legislator Evans?
No.
Legislator Berman?
No.
Legislator Crowley?
Yes.
Legislator Elman?
No.
Legislator Goldman?
Yes.
Legislator Young?
No.
Legislator Montgomery?
Yes.
Legislator Russo?
Yes.
Chairwoman Sage?
No.
Madam Chair, oh, I'm sorry. I don't
I
want to
had my hand up.
You did.
Legislator Montgomery.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to amend the legislative manual that's in front of us on the agenda.
The original. Is there a second?
Well, yeah.
What was the amendment?
What's the name?
Okay, so the amendment is Rule 31, Oath or Affirmation. The chair of the county legislature and the chair of a standing committee shall each have the power to request anyone speaking in front of the county legislature or a standing committee to take an oath. So for the public's benefit, this means that the public has to take an oath before you speak before the legislature. It's already terrifying enough to come here. Affirming the truthfulness of the information being presented on the floor. So we're just assuming that anybody that comes in is a liar. This applies to any situation where the county legislature or standing committee will be using the facts presented in making a decision. The discretion to use this power is within the control of the chair of the county legislature or standing committee, depending on the body being presented with the information. The chair in charge of the meeting will ask the speaker, do you swear that what you are about to present is, to the best of your knowledge, both true and correct? The speaker must answer in the affirmative or leave the floor until such a time that they are able to make the oath in the affirmative. If the speaker is unable to answer in the affirmative, the chair may request that a vote of the majority of the county legislature or the standing committee be taken as to whether to allow the speaker access to the floor. The provisions of this rule shall not be applicable to any member of the public speaking during the recognition of the public on any agenda items, portion or any regular or special meeting of the county legislature. I make a motion to remove that from the legislative manual that was presented to us tonight. I believe that it completely intimidates the public, and if we're going to make the public make an oath, then we should make anybody who stands before the legislature take the same oath, including any legislator who speaks on anything, including any department head that comes in and speaks on anything, including the sheriff who speaks on anything, including any employee who speaks on anything.
Is there a second to the amendment on the floor?
I'll second that.
Legislator Goldman seconds. Roll call vote, please.
That's a discussion also.
Discussion. Go ahead.
Thank you. This legislative body, or any legislative body, is very intimidating. If you have experience in public speaking, or you have no experience in public speaking, it's an intimidating situation to speak in front of us as legislators and the government. Individuals could be afraid. If we add an oath affirming truthfulness for people to speak, it might discourage individuals from speaking. We don't want that. We want openness in government. We want conversation. We want ideas. We want different perspectives on the topics that are at hand. We want people to come to meetings. We want our neighbors and our residents to participate and not be turned away and be afraid to come here. This is good government. As a governing body, we want all information to come out. And we as the government can make common sense decisions on which way to go after everyone speaks. We want open government. We don't believe that we have the issues that, if we don't believe we have the issues at hand, we shouldn't do this. I don't believe the State Assembly does this. I don't believe the State Senate does this. And Legislator Birmingham also said that he agreed with the letter that he read from Lynn Eckhart, a former councilwoman from Southeast. That's a good idea. So if you think it's a good idea, then you should not support the Rule 31 that you proposed. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Legislator Elmer.
I don't think the public should be required to take any type of affirmation, but with the amount of misinformation that's flowing around, I think it would be a good idea that staff of the county have to do that. So that's something I would like to fix in the committee. I mean, there has to be truthfulness and there has to be accuracy in information. So based on that, I will not be supporting this amendment. My goal is to pass this manual and fix it in committee.
Any further discussion? Legislator Bradley.
So why are we accepting, to Deputy Chair Eleanor's point, I agree with this, that there's room for us to improve upon this, and it should be discussed in committee. I do think we should adopt the current manual, and at the February rules meeting, it should be tabled to the February rules meeting where we can then all discuss it and work out the kinks with it. You took a lot of time and effort to put into this, and I think we all appreciate that. But there are some rules and kinks, and it does affect our constituents and the public. It is intimidating to speak here. I wouldn't want to be a department head and have to take an oath and come here at budget time and not have the right answer. It would make me very nervous. So, you know, I think that we need to make sure that we're doing the right thing and not intimidating our staff, the people that are appointed, and the constituents. That's not fair to them. So I do think that I would like to see this, the old manual accepted and this table to the rules meeting for February, as you said yourself, that you agree with Lynn, and Legislator Eleanor also agreed that he didn't like the amendment, the 31.
Legislator Young.
First sentence says, "The chair of the county legislature and the chair of a standing committee shall each have the power to request anyone speaking in front of the county legislature or standing committee take an oath affirming the truthfulness of the information being presented on the floor." That gives them discretion. It doesn't say shall demand. Not everybody who comes in front of us is going to be required to take an oath. So this is at the discretion of the chair of the legislature and the chair of the committees. So this is not a big deal.
I'd also like to point out that Section 2.04 of the Putnam County Charter, entitled Powers and Duties of the Legislature, it does state that the county legislature shall have, but not by limitation, the following powers and duties: to make or cause to be made such studies, audits, investigations as it deems to be in the best interest of the county, and in connection therewith, to obtain professional and technical advice, appoint temporary advisory boards of citizens, subpoena witnesses, administer oaths, and require the production of bonds, papers, and other evidence deemed necessary. So these are already powers that are within the legislative powers. This is just putting the process in our legislative manual at what point we possibly even use these powers and duties. Any other legislator would like to speak on this amendment that's been first and seconded? Legislator Montgomery.
So to Legislator Yonke's point where it states the chair of the county legislature and the chair of the standing committee have the power. Well, judging from the fact that you've allowed this to be on the agenda at all tonight, and the fact that you're not sending it back to committee, which is what we've done with everything. I've seen many things come before us. I think quite recently there was a PBA contract that was going to be passed, and you all insisted that it go to committee. So I'm not sure what's going on here, but it stinks. So I can't trust the chair of the legislature, and I imagine any standing committee chair to do the right thing, because we're not doing the right thing here.
I'd like to make a roll call vote on the amendment to Legislator Montgomery's amendment to remove that section from.
Legislator Advisio.
No.
Legislator Birmingham.
No.
Legislator Crowley.
Yes?
Legislator Elliott.
No.
Legislator Goldman.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
Legislator Yonke.
No.
Legislator Montgomery.
Yes.
Legislator Russo.
Yes.
Chairwoman Sage.
No.
Motion carries.
Madam Chair, can I make another amendment as well? And this one's really more of a housekeeping, pardon me, housekeeping cleanup amendment. It synthesizes the changes that are proposed here as well. If you'll take a look at rule number 9, the chair of the legislature shall be entitled to one vote, equal and similar to all legislators on all matters, and it currently reads, except the aforementioned appeal proceedings, see Rule 7. My amendment would be to strike the following words from that rule number 9, except the aforementioned appeal proceeding, see Rule 7. And I'll need a second for that, Madam Chair.
Second.
Thank you.
Discussion.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Legislator Montgomery.
We're making changes to this on the fly, so nobody's even seen that in print yet. It's not been before us. The public hasn't had a chance to even look at the change that Legislator Birmingham is bringing forward. Our county attorney, our legislative attorney, interim legislative attorney hasn't even had a chance to comment on that. So I hope all the legislators consider that. You're not allowing the public an opportunity to comment on rules and laws that you're passing. You're not running it through council.
So legislative manual, so rule of law. Any further discussion?
So you have a rule of law without the public commenting on it, is that correct? You're going to pass a rule of law without allowing the public to comment on it. That's what you're doing here.
No,
Any further?
point of order. This is our operations manual. This is a legislative.
That affects the public.
It affects the day-to-day operation of the legislature.
You
Any
just
further
pointed out the
discussion?
public. And
Furthermore,
Rule 31 affects the public.
you're out of order.
Any further discussion on the amendment on the floor? Roll call vote, please.
Legislator Advisio.
Yes.
Legislator Birmingham.
Yes.
Legislator Crowley.
No.
Legislator Elmer.
Yes.
Legislator Goldman.
No.
Legislator Yonke.
Yes.
Legislator Montgomery.
No.
Legislator Russo.
No.
Chairwoman Sage.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Chairwoman, I have another motion. I'd like to make a motion to amend the legislative manual that's in front of us by removing Rule 32, legislative subpoenas. Pursuant to the powers granted to the legislature by Section 2.04I of the county charter, the county legislature may, by adoption of a resolution by a majority vote of its full membership, issue subpoenas for witnesses and compel them to appear and testify before the full county legislature and/or the appropriate standing or special committee, and subpoenas jus tectum, excuse me, that's Latin, for the production of books, papers, and other evidence. Can I ask you, Chairwoman, do you know what subpoenas, D-U-C-E-S-T-E-C-U-M means?
I would defer to the person who wrote the.
I'm asking you, Chairwoman. You allowed this to be on the agenda.
Subpoena. It's a subpoena.
You allowed this to be on
Madam
the...
Chair, the rules do not permit to bring yet the.
I'm speaking to the chair.
Make your motion and
I'm asking you if you know what this means.
this is not a discussion right now. You are
Okay, well, we're
making the
discussing this. and
motion. Is there a
it's
second
important-
on legislator Montgomery's?
So I didn't finish. For the production of books, papers, and other evidence deemed necessary or material to an inquiry made in fulfillment of the county legislature's responsibilities and duties by resolution of the county legislature. Such subpoena shall be signed by the clerk to the county legislature. Any such resolution is hereby determined to be a matter relating to the rules and regulations of the county legislature and pertaining solely to the conduct of its own procedures. Chairwoman, can you tell us what this means? The public, I think this is legalese, and I don't believe that the public...
Is there a second to legislator Montgomery's? There's point of order, you're making a motion, you're not.
I'll make a motion to remove it until the entire legislature understands it, because I don't believe that the entire legislature understands the rules that they're passing that
Is there a
affect the
second on the
public.
motion?
I will second the motion to discuss it, but certainly be voting against it. You're right, it is Latin. They sound Greek to a lot of us, but loosely translated, it means the requirement to produce documents or papers, very loosely translated. I would like to remind my colleagues, as I discussed in the beginning of this, what I thought would be a short agenda item, that this is simply taken from another legislature's rules. This was lifted almost verbatim from the Rockland County Legislative Manual. It's on their website. Anybody can Google it. It's right there. Again, it echoes and codifies what the power we already have that's provided to us in Article 2 of our charter. So although I did second it, perhaps to move things along, and I certainly don't want anybody to feel stifled in talking about this or anything else here, I will be voting against this amendment because I don't think it's anything that out of the ordinary. Guys, I'm not trying to pull the wool over your eyes. It's been in our charter for almost 50 years, 1977. And this is nothing new. This shouldn't be, in my view, viewed with hostility or alarm. It's powers that perhaps if we all had read the charter, we would know this is a power we've had for almost 50 years. So with that, I will second the motion, but please understand I will be voting against the motion to amend. Thank you.
Legislator Crowley.
If I may ask Legislator Birmingham, if it's been in our charter for 50 years, you were a legislator years and years and years ago. My question, I guess, is why do you feel the need for sudden change now that wasn't there then when you were a legislator?
I reserve always the right to improve myself.
Any other discussion? Legislator Elmer.
The legislator, Birmingham, removed his second.
I'm sorry?
You removed your second.
I would, may I ask Legislator Elmer, what purpose would that be? Knowing that it would be immediately
We're
seconded.
going round and around, and
Okay.
this is going to continue, and nothing is yet.
I won't remove it because I suspect once I remove it, it'll be seconded again, and it might take
Understood.
unnecessarily being distracted.
And through the chair, please.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
Any other discussion on this item, Legislator Goldman?
As far as I'm aware, currently, there's no means to compel someone to appear in front of us to testify. So if we do a subpoena and someone doesn't come, what do we do? What do we do?
I don't want to preempt Legislator Montgomery. I'd be happy to answer that, but she had her hand up before I was ready to answer that question, so I'll defer. I do have an answer, though.
Legislator Montgomery.
If it's in the county charter, why are we putting it in here and going through this academic exercise?
Goodness,
Through the chair to Legislator Birmingham.
Goodness, which question to answer first? I'll start with bills. Bill, there is a process that was followed rather loosely, in my opinion. It was in 1985. Many of us, or all, none of us, were on the legislature at that time, but the legislature that did sit here swore in and took testimony from at least 5 department heads, or excuse me, 3 department heads, 3 county employees, with respect to the Lion Capital scandal that rocked this county to its core in the mid-'80s. Perhaps some reporters in our audience might remember that. That was an example where the county, I won't get into the purposes or the reasons, but the county lost $800,000 because of bad investments. And part of the reason some would speculate that happened was because the investment policy that this legislature sets every year perhaps wasn't followed back then. I'm not saying it wasn't, but that was the allegation. So there is quite a bit of evidence and process already in place. We have precedent for that, granted 40 years old precedent, but it has happened, and we have taken testimony on what was then a very controversial and very seismic, if you will, fiscal impact to the county. $800,000 is a lot of money today. It's a lot more back then. And I'm sorry, Legislator Montgomery, I got your question.
To the chair, can I comment on that? What did you actually do? What did they do at that time?
I was in high school at the time, sir. I couldn't tell you.
So, I mean, you're talking about losing money, I understand. But my question was, you have a subpoena, someone doesn't show up to discuss it, what do we do? Do we arrest them? Do we have them put in jail? What do we do?
There's a whole body of law passed by the state legislature, through the chair, passed by the state legislature that will give us guidance on this. This codifies for us at least that initial step. And I think if we're going to take baby steps, we should. And this is merely an effort to do that.
I would like to actually ask our
Is there any other,
attorney, but we can't. So,
Why can't we?
is there any other legislator who would like to speak on this?
because it's done in this meeting, not in the committee meeting.
Oh, legislator Yonke.
Yeah, this is kind of disturbing. The more I hear week after week, and it's been going on for months, we have members of the legislature who are willing to abandon their authority, erode the integrity of this legislative body. And it's really disturbing to me to hear that you want to give up the authority that we already have. It's in the charter, we're codifying it in our legislative manual. It's not that big a deal, but you're willing to give up on it. And it's apparent from everybody who's watching this meeting right now who those people are. And that's not why you were elected.
Legislator Montgomery.
I was elected to serve the public, and what's alarming is that you're passing this without public input. It's appalling.
Let's take a vote on the amendment that's on the floor in front of us. Legislator Montgomery.
Madam Chair, out of courtesy, could we wait for legislator?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
To come back, I don't mind waiting for him to be recorded. He did second this after all.
Oh, he did, okay. This is the amendment that legislator Montgomery made to remove section.
Oh, I'm sorry, I did second it.
That's
I did
what I was
second
gonna
it.
say,
You're
I
right,
thought you
you're
seconded it.
absolutely right. I did.
Remove
It goes back though, so my apologies. I thought.
Remove Rule 32, legislative subpoena.
Yes, although I did second it, I won't be voting against it.
So we have a motion on the floor, that's been seconded by legislator Birmingham. Roll call vote, please.
Legislator Anizio.
No.
Legislator Berman.
No.
Legislator Crowell.
Yes.
Legislator Elmer.
No.
Legislator Goldman.
I'm sorry, I stepped out to go to the restroom.
This is to remove Rule 32, proposed by Legislator Montgomery.
Can you repeat it, please?
Remove Rule 32 as proposed by Legislator Montgomery.
I made a motion to remove this rule, and we're voting to remove this rule.
Okay, sorry I left the room, but I'll vote to remove that. Thank you.
Legislator Yonke.
No.
Legislator Montgomery.
Yes.
Legislator Russo.
No, yes, sorry.
Chairwoman Sage.
No. Okay, so moving on to the original.
Are you making a motion to call the question, Madam Chair? I do believe everybody's spoken, but
Yeah, everyone's spoken. I'd like to call the question.
I don't think she called the question. I had my hand up before she called the question.
I agree with Legislator Montgomery. But it's up to you, Chair.
I'm going to call the question. We can do this all night with every.
So I had my hand up before you called the question. So
I didn't see
more
it.
chipping
I
away
didn't see it.
democracy.
It was over here.
So it's here before you called the question.
I will afford you that courtesy, Legislator Montgomery. I would appreciate courtesy right back. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I make a motion to amend the existing, whatever this is before us, this disgrace to the public. I make a motion to amend this legislative manual by removing Rule 33, confirmation of appointments of the county executive. Upon the filing of the county executive with the clerk of the county legislature of a written appointment of the head of a county department or administrative unit pursuant to Charter Section 3.03, and in order for the county legislature to perform its confirmation responsibilities pursuant to Charter Section 2.08, the chair of the legislature shall refer to such appointment to one of the standing committees of the county legislature and refuse said appointment and conduct a committee meeting in connection with such appointment. Hence, a good idea to go into committee to discuss these important things. A, following such referral and prior to the date of said standing committee meeting, the appointee shall provide the following to such standing committee in connection with such committee review: a written professional resume, 3 written references from persons engaged in professional area of expertise to which the appointee is being considered, a completed, signed, and dated annual statement of financial disclosure for the County of Putnam, Level P. Such disclosure form may leave the categories of financial interests blank, and a written disclosure of any campaign contributions made within the last 5 years of such appointment by such appointee or appointee spouse to any authorized candidate committee of the appointing county executive or to any political action committee founded by or controlled by the appointing county executive, example, the Taxpayer Action Network. B, prior to the date of said standing committee meeting, a criminal background check of said appointee shall be requested by said standing committee chair of an appropriate law enforcement agency. C, prior to the date of said standing committee meeting, a certificate of search for judgments, liens of said appointee shall be requested by the standing committee chair for the county clerks of Putnam, Dutchess, Orange, Rockland, Ulster, and Westchester counties. D, the standing committee to which the such appointment has been referred shall conduct a committee meeting to interview said appointee. Such appointee shall take an oath affirming the truthfulness of the information to be presented at such standing committee meeting pursuant to the provisions of Rule 31. E, at the conclusion of said standing committee meeting, said standing committee shall adopt a resolution to be filed with the county legislature stating one of the following 3 results: approve appointment, disapprove appointment, or 3, no recommendation. My motion is to remove this entire section for the time being because the public has not had an opportunity to weigh in on it. Our actual interim legislative counsel is here and has stated that this is not ready for adoption and has not been to committee, and the public can and has not and will not have an opportunity to comment on this. It's my intention to work as a legislator, to work with this legislature, and to work with the county executive. So when I'm passing laws that affect different offices, and I remember a time in Putnam County when that happened, when I could sit in room 318 with Bob Bonding in the legislature and town councilmen and supervisors and discuss legislation, and we worked together as a county to get things done in view of public, not without an opportunity for the public to comment. So for that reason, I make a motion to remove this section number 32. 33.
Is there a second for Legislator Montgomery's?
Second.
Who seconded? Legislators. Discussion.
Yeah, without repeating what I said about the last motion that failed, this motion is to remove a section that would require the resume, a list of references, a disclosure of campaign contributions, a criminal background check, and a financial disclosure from those folks who are coming, they're seeking confirmation of an appointment in front of this legislative body. That's what this does not seem like a big deal to me. I don't know why you wouldn't want to ask that of people seeking employment in a position of authority at Putnam County.
Any other legislator? I'd just like to say that this is a duty, legislature's duty is to vet and vote on appointments to the county executive. People who are department heads in Putnam County are receiving taxpayer money. I think it's our duty to vet these people for our committee and have as much information as possible on each of these potential department heads. So I don't have a problem with it. Anyone else?
In case you didn't hear, and obviously from your statements you weren't listening or you didn't hear my reason for wanting to remove this, and it was first and foremost primarily because the public didn't have an opportunity to vet this. We didn't discuss this in committee as is normal practice for this legislature, and the interim legislative council advised us that it would be in our best interest not to pass this tonight. So if you don't believe in vetting things in public view, which it's obvious tonight and from the past 6 years actually, when you decide on everything back there and come out and just vote, and you don't believe in vetting things in front of the public, then, I just want to make it clear. I'm not voting against the ideas of requiring a resume or things in this legislative manual that have been proposed by Legislator Birmingham. I'm voting to remove it because that's my only mechanism to address this and to get this in front of the public in the committee for comment. But obviously, there's a majority member of this legislature that does not want the public to know what they're doing, to comment on what they're doing, and to see what they're doing.
Legislator Powell.
If I may, through the chair, Legislator Birmingham, so this would be to all appointed officials throughout the county, correct? So if it was a lieutenant, would they have to also abide by the same rules as, let's say, or a captain, would they have to abide by the same rules as somebody who's appointed to a department head?
Sure. Through the chair, if I could, I'd be happy to clarify that for you. If you take a look closely at Rule 33, it merely speaks to those positions which the county executive makes appointments pursuant to Article 3, and to which we have the obligation to either confirm or not pursuant to Article 2 of the Charter. And those positions do not dig down into any sort of lieutenant. I think you used the law enforcement. It's not that at all. It's merely, well, not merely, importantly, it's the department heads of the county that require, and heads of units that require power confirmation. And my thought behind Rule 33 was merely to codify and to make more real and more manifest our responsibility to take a hard look at every confirmation we're asked to do. And again, it's no comment on past or future confirmations. I think all of our department heads who run the gauntlet through the confirmation process that serve us today, that have served us, have done wonderful jobs, but this was merely an effort to more closely discern what our obligations are, to put that in writing. We have good department heads that did not go through such a rigorous process, and that's fine. But I think we do need to codify it and put it in a way that in public session, people can actually ask questions and that we can be privy to information that perhaps we otherwise wouldn't have. One of the, and I'm taking a long way to answer to your short question, I apologize, but one of the biggest attributes, I think, of Rule 33 is something that I am in wholehearted agreement with Legislator Montgomery on, is that we should be requesting written resumes from every appointment we make, whether they're county executive confirmations or not. We, every year, appoint dozens of very good people, sometimes reappointments of very good people, to county boards like our agricultural and farm board, our Cornell Cooperative Extension legislators, and others that are appointed to boards. We should have written resumes on that. And not to turn around, but quite frankly, the term that started in my head about this Rule 33 was a point Legislator Montgomery made in one of the committee meetings earlier this year, in the previous year, that we should have resumes for every appointment. And perhaps did I gild the lily on this a little bit, putting more requirements in there? I think so, but I think they're good. I think they're good efforts. I think they're things that we do need to have some input on. So, sorry for the long-winded answer to your question.
Through the chair, I just feel like if we're going to do it I don't think it should just be done through the county executive. If we're going to do it for anybody that's going to, it should run throughout all of Putnam County. And maybe hold ourselves to the same standards. I mean, heck, we've all had 2 lawsuits or lawsuits slapped on us just not that long ago. So, a lot of the police go through it. There are captains, there are lieutenants throughout the country that have lawsuits and different situations. So I'm just trying to figure out at what point do we justify that it's okay and it's not okay. How do you discern what is an acceptable lawsuit and what is not an acceptable lawsuit when you're interviewing somebody for a position?
Well, that's certainly something to consider. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any further discussion? Bill Goldman.
Thank you, gentlemen. I want to thank Legislator Birmingham for putting a lot of work into this. Have we reached out to the personnel director in the county to see if this is legal or not? I'm asking you.
Or asking through the chair? I have not. No, when this was first drafted, Bill, as you can tell from my introductory letter, I was not a sitting member of the legislature at that time, and that was one of the reasons I didn't feel the need, not the need, but the ability to approach any of the use taxpayer-funded positions to weigh in on this. Having said that, though, we should remember that these are our regulations and that these are our rules about how we conduct our proceedings. Two of the three brand new rules here are things we already have the power to do. It's simply not, again, guys, I'm not trying to pull the wool over your eyes. These are things that are merely just codifying in 2 instances out of 3, powers we already have. And on the third power, it's merely perhaps answering some of the requests I've heard from some of my colleagues over the last few years to get more information when we make that important confirmation decision, because it is an important decision. And so that's some of my thoughts that went into it. But to answer your direct question, the answer is no.
Okay, thank you. This might not be legal, so before we go through with this, I think we should talk to the personnel director and our counsel to see if we can actually do this legally. So I would say we don't do this until we do that. I think by doing this, we might be going down a slippery slope. If someone applies for a position that they happen to have given a donation to the county executive, and that individual is not given that position, that individual could sue saying, the reason I didn't get the job is because I gave a donation to someone. I think that this is unconstitutional, and it really opens up Putnam County to the lawsuits that we really shouldn't be, going down and trying to do.
Any other Legislator Elner?
I think I had my hand up before, Legislator Elner.
You've had a chance to speak. Now he's discussing that motion on the table.
It really bothers me that at every turn, I find my colleagues trying to dilute the authority of the legislature. We are a representative form of government. I was elected because of my judgment, because I demonstrated to people that I am someone who are going to serve their interests. And I find you deferring to appointed people and appointed opinions. They're not elected. We are elected. And you say in council, well, you know something? You don't have to accept what council says. You can differ from council. This is going to continue all night long, folks. Okay? We're going to go one versus the other, and you can see there's two factions here. There's one faction who's trying to codify, clean up, and make sure the legislature will function as it should be functioning, as it is chartered. And if you'll notice, I have no notes in front of me. I am not reading prepared statements. This is what I feel. This is what I hear. I see people reading prepared statements. So this to me is an assault on the authority of the legislature, and because of this, I completely disagree.
Legislator Montgomery.
Thank you. I think it took 6 years to get each chair of each committee. You were a chair of a committee, you were a chair of committee. Legislator Agnese was a chair of a committee, Legislator Yankee. And committee meeting after committee meeting, we would get recommendations to appoint or hire someone before us with no resume. And you folks just appointed them. So again, to reiterate my statement, it's in regard to the process. I was elected to serve the people, and I was elected to do the people's business in public. And I wasn't elected to just dictate what happens, which is, I think, what Legislator Elner is referring to. He believes that he's here to tell us how it should be. Again, my reason for wanting this removed from the manual is because it was not vetted properly, it was not vetted in front of the public did not have an opportunity to weigh in on it, and it was not vetted through council.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to remove section Rule 33 has been seconded. If there's no further discussion, let's call for a roll call vote, please.
Legislator Adamski.
No.
Legislator Birmingham.
No.
Legislator Crowley.
Yes.
Legislator Elmer.
No.
Legislator Goldman.
Yes.
Legislator Young.
No.
Legislator Montgomery.
Yes.
Legislator Russo.
Yes.
Chairwoman Sage.
No.
Motion fails.
Legislator Birmingham.
Madam, I see, I was going to call the question, but I don't want to interrupt or stifle any of my colleagues.
Do the same.
I was going to make a motion to call the main question, which is the approval of the legislative manual, which was presented to us, the form that was received tonight, as amended by myself in Rule 9. So I'll make that motion to call the question to it.
Roll call vote.
Legislator Adamski.
Yes.
Legislator Birmingham.
Yes.
Legislator Crowley.
No.
Legislator Elmer.
Yes.
Legislator Goldman.
No.
Legislator Young.
Yes.
Legislator Montgomery.
No.
Legislator Russo.
No.
Chairwoman Sage.
Yes.
Motion carries.
If I could thank all of my colleagues for indulging me, all of my colleagues. I think this was a healthy discussion, and I do apologize for taking a great deal of your time tonight. Thank you.
Okay. And with the adoption of the legislative manual, I'd like to invite Legislative Counsel Ferriolo and Legislative Clerk Schoenfeld to join the dais.
Oh, we did adopt the manual, correct? Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we called the question. Thank you.
If I may, as the minority leader of the legislature, I'm inviting interim counsel,
As
Mr. Pasquale,
You don't have
to
to
the dais.
And you don't have a discussion. Moving on to agenda item number,
If I may?
Legislator Elmer.
I would like to welcome Clerk Schoenfeld and Legislative Council to your role. I look forward to working with you and continuing to work with you.
Madam Chair, if I could also echo those sentiments.
Legislator Birmingham.
I'm sorry. If I could also echo those sentiments, I look forward to working with Legislative Clerk Schoenfeld and Legislative Council for the next year. Ferriolo, looking forward to that. And happy to be working with Diane again and for Rob for the first time. Thank you.
Legislator Young.
Thank you. I'd also like to echo the same sentiment. Welcome, Rob. Welcome, Diane.
Legislator Adamski.
Wow. I would like to also welcome Rob and Diane.
You don't have the floor, Legislator Montgomery.
But I've had my hand up prior to anybody that's talking.
You're called on when the chair calls on you, Legislator Adamski.
I said that.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you because of the motion. Legislator Montgomery.
While I have no objection to Rob being invited to the dais, I want to make it clear that he has no official role. As Mr. Pascal Conrad is our actual interim legislative counsel, and I would like to invite him up to the dais.
That's to the discretion of the chair. Legislator Elder. Okay. Moving on now to.
Just make it clear, this legislative council is not legislative council. He has no official role in the
Legislator
dais.
Montgomery, you're out of order. Continue on to get through this meeting.
You need to make these things clear to the public,
Adoption of
that he has no
Agenda
official
item.
Take it
role.
outside then.
Why don't you explain it to the public?
No,
Because you don't like to.
Legislator Montgomery.
You don't like the public to know anything. You think they understand what's going on here?
Take it outside.
We're moving on to adoption of the legislative council, agenda item, excuse me, calendar, agenda item number 8. I'll make a motion to adopt it. Do I have a second?
I'll second, Madam Chair.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Agenda item number 9 is the designation of the official newspapers.
Gentlemen. Thank you, gentlemen. A community newspaper keeps the towns and communities informed on
We
meetings.
need to make a motion, and we're gonna make a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to add Putnam County News, the Recorder, and the Courier, and the Putnam Press to the list of official newspapers.
I'll second.
PCNR, and the
And it's
Courier.
been seconded.
Wait, whoa. Say it again?
The three papers that we have in your package. Putnam County News and Recorder, the Courier, and the Putnam Press.
There's a second. For the three. I'm sorry, do you have a second, Legislator Montgomery?
Yes.
Okay. Discussion. All in favor? Aye. Aye.
No. I'm gonna vote no.
Okay, roll. Can we roll, I'm sorry, roll call
Well, can we just discuss?
vote. Discuss, yes,
Let's
I'm sorry.
discuss this for a second.
Getting ahead of myself, I
Yeah,
apologize.
that's okay.
I'm new here.
So, previously, we had 2 papers last year, correct?
Correct.
Right. We had the Putnam County Press, as the official newspaper, and we had the News and Reporter, in my recollection. And so tonight we are looking to add Putnam County Courier, is that what you're
That's the
requesting?
motion on the floor.
All of them.
So, well, it's 3. 3 papers you're looking to add? An extra? One in last year. And can you just explain the need for that?
Anybody?
Discussion, make the bill, did you want to?
No, Bill made the motion, I'm asking Bill, can you just explain the need for the
Are
third
we
paper?
follow
the third-
Robert's rules, or are you going to go through the chair for that?
I did, I'm talking through the chair. No, I'm just wondering why we would
Why?
designate 3 papers this year.
A few years ago, we had the Courier, Putnam County News and Recorder,
Yes.
and the press involved. Last year, I believe, there was some disagreements with some members of the legislature and the former editor and owner of the PCNR and the Courier, and I was able to get the Putnam County News and Recorder back online with us. And the Courier is a wonderful newspaper. It's associated, they're 2 separate papers, but they are associated with the Putnam County News and Recorder, and I believe they should be part of our newspaper, official newspaper. You know, a community newspaper keeps all the towns and communities informed on meetings, high school sports, content specific to each town and each community. They are a microcosm of the culture of any town throughout Putnam County and throughout the country, actually. They keep the residents informed of critical happenings throughout the county and each community. So that's why I made a motion to bring those 3 back into the system.
Let's say,
Thank you. Last year, we had the Putnam County Press Conference and the PCNR. If it's not broke, don't fix it. There's no reason to add another paper with the additional expense. So I will not be supporting this resolution as introduced.
let's say, Montgomery.
I believe these papers are distributed in different parts of the county, serving the public, so that the public has access to legals and information regarding our business, because obviously they're not going to get it here. And it would, these 3 papers are distributed to different areas of the county, therefore it's necessary to adopt all 3, because I don't see the Putnam County Courier on my side of the county, therefore I believe the Putnam County News isn't distributed in other areas of the county, so therefore we need all 3.
Through the chair.
Legislator
Legislator Montgomery, didn't you vote against the Putnam County Courier last year?
Yep, and I always like to improve myself.
Oh, divide one, private session, just vote on each separate. Make a motion to divide the question, vote on each one separately. Yeah.
I'll second.
And since the mover is making a motion to divide the question, which order, if I might ask the chair, would the mover like to order these papers? To We have 3. Which one would you like voted on first? Which one would you? There's 4? Are there 4? I'm sorry.
No, it's three.
Three for that.
My-
I apologize, Bill brought up three.
Okay, I'm sorry. My only question, Madam Chair, if you're going to, or ask to divide the question, I just ask that you let us know which one is the first thing
First, second, and third.
to be voted on, yeah.
Okay, so first, I would put Putnam County Consumer Court first, Putnam Press second, and go over Putnam Courier third.
So it's PCNR,
PCNR, Putnam Press,
Press, and then Courier.
and then Courier third. Divide the question and vote separately in that order.
This one's for the PCNR, I would imagine, Madam Chair.
So,
First one, yes. Yes.
Legislator Adams.
Yes.
Legislator Berman.
Yes.
Legislator Crowley.
Yes.
Legislator Elman.
Yes.
Legislator Goldman.
Yes.
Legislator Young.
Yes.
Legislator Montgomery.
yes.
Legislator Russo.
Yes.
Legislator Chairwoman Sage.
Yes.
Motion carries.
And now we're voting on the Putnam Press.
Legislator Adams.
Yes.
Legislator Berman.
Yes.
Legislator Crowley.
Yes.
Legislator Elman.
Yes.
Legislator Goldman.
Yes.
Legislator Young.
Yes.
Legislator Montgomery. Yes. Legislator Russo.
Yes.
Chairwoman Sage.
Yes. And now we're voting on Putnam Courier.
Legislator Adams.
No.
Legislator Berman.
No.
Legislator Crowley.
No.
Legislator Elman.
No.
Legislator Goldman.
Yes.
Legislator Young.
No.
Legislator Montgomery.
Yes.
Legislator Russo.
Yes.
Chairwoman Sage.
No.
Motion fails.
Agenda item number 10 is permission for legislature and staff to attend conferences, seminars, official business of the county. I'd like to make a motion to pass agenda item number 10. Do I have a second? Second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Agenda item number 11 is authorization for the county auditor to approve erroneous assessments under $2,500. I'd like to make a motion to pass agenda item.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Agenda item number 12. Is appointment to the legislative representative for the for the Cooperative Extension Board. I would like to nominate Legislator Russo.
Second.
All in favor? Oh, sorry, discussion first.
I think we figured out that there are Monday meetings, the first Monday of the month, and I wouldn't be able to attend.
Okay, so we have on the floor. So I will remove my nomination for Legislator Russo, and I will open it up to the floor for legislative representative to Cooperative Extension.
Nominate Legislator Burlingame.
Okay. I have served on that board before during my previous tenure on the legislature. For those who know Cornell Cooperative Extension and the wonderful work they do here in Putnam County, I'd be honored to serve on the board as a legislative representative. So thank you, Legislator Crowley.
I'll second. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
And item number 12, excuse me, 13. I'd like to make a motion to nominate Legislator Adamizio to serve as legislative representative of the jury board. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Agenda item number 14. I would like to make a motion to appoint Legislator Montgomery as our representative to Region 3 Forest Practice Board. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I think we need to confirm, I haven't found where this board exists, so I believe that this board doesn't exist anymore.
We can talk with the legislative clerk. Moving on to agenda item number 15 is legislative representative to the Putnam County Soil and Water Conservation Board. I would like to make a motion to nominate legislators Elner and Russo to serve on the Soil and Water Board. Do I have a
Second.
discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Agenda item number 16, I would like to make a motion to appoint legislative movement as legislative representative for the Records Management Board with the term to expire December 31st, 2025. Do I have a second? Discussion? This is for legislative movement. Yeah, the second was legislative. Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Agenda item number 17. I will make a motion for myself to continue to serve out my term on the Putnam County Board of Health
Second.
with a 6-year term to expire December 31st, 2027. All discussion. All in favor?
I vote no.
Agenda item number 18 is an appointment. I would like to make a motion to appoint Erin Crowley. She's continuing on the board, the Farmland Protection Board, Putnam County Agricultural Farmland Protection Board, continuing her term through the end of December 31st, 2025. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Agenda item number 19. I would like to make a motion to appoint Paul Yonke to be the Putnam County representative for the Catskill Region Off-Track Betting Corporation Board. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Agenda item, excuse me, agenda item number 20 is, I would like to make a motion to appoint Legislator Montgomery as our legislative representative for the Fish and Wildlife Management Board. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Agenda item number 21. I would like to make a motion to appoint Legislator Yonke with the alternate of Legislator Birmingham to serve on the Law Library Board. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Agenda item number 22. I would like to make a motion to appoint Greg Elner and Legislator Tony Adonisio as the alternate for the Legislative Liaison for the Veterans Affairs. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Agenda item number 23. I would like to make a motion to appoint Legislator Goldman and Legislator Russo to be the legislative representatives for the Putnam County Traffic Safety Board. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Agenda item number 24. I would like to appoint Legislator Birmingham and Legislator Erin Crowley as the alternate for the appointment for the Putnam County Fire Advisory Board. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion.
Point of order, or question, Legislator Crowley, did you think that reversed?
Oh, I apologize. I did get that reversed. I'm sorry. I put that in reverse. You're right. I'd like to make the correction, please. I had that written down. Aaron Crowley will be appointed as legislative representative, and Legislator Birmingham will serve as the alternate. I'm sorry, I had those switched. And now was seconded. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for serving. Agenda item number 25. I would like to table 25 pending the committee assignments. This particular board appointment for the Capital Projects Committee goes to the chair of the Fiscal Services Committee, and since we haven't appointed any committee chairs, I'd like to table this pending the committee.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Agenda item, number 26 is the approval for the appointment for legislative representative, member of the Capital Projects Committee representing the minority party. I would like to appoint Legislator Montgomery. I'm sorry, I got lost. Legislator Montgomery as our minority political party for the Capital Services. We have a second.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to agenda item number 27. This is the designation of the jail chief, medical officer. I would like to make a motion to accept agenda item number 27, designating Dr. Michael Neschwag to act as chief medical officer for the jail.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
And item number 28 is approval for the Department of General Services, identifying individuals responsible for purchasing. We have John Kelly as the Commissioner of the Department of General Services, Alexis Hawley, Assistant Supervisor of Planning and Design, Michelle Pinto, Senior Account Clerk, and Timothy Keith, Capital Asset Procurement Coordinator. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Agenda item number 29 is approval for a budgetary transfer with the Putnam County Sheriff's Employees Association, the PCSEA contract settlement. This was discussed in our committee meetings at the December personnel and the audit committee meetings. This is in the amount of $328,170. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to agenda item number 30. This is an approval for a budgetary transfer for the Department of Social Services. This was discussed at the Personnel and Audit Committee meetings in December. This is in the amount of $9,391, zero fiscal impact. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Agenda item number 31 is approval for a budgetary transfer for IT GIS for a reclassification for an account clerk to IT operations assistant. This was also discussed in our December personnel and audit committee meetings. There is zero fiscal impact. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Agenda item 32. We have approval for a budgetary amendment to the Department of Social Services with Putnam County Suicide Prevention Task Force funding, Countywide local outreach to suicide survivors loss team. This was approved at the December audit and administration meeting. This is an increase in appropriations for $12,480 to be used for the suicide survivors loss team. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Agenda item number 33 is approval for budgetary transfer for the Commissioner of Finance to adjust personnel lines in the Personnel Department and the Sheriff's Office. This was also approved at the Audit and Administration Committee in December. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to agenda item number 34, other business, business before us this evening. I'd like to move on to agenda item number 35, which is recognition of the public on agenda items. If any person would like to comment on any agenda item, please come up to the podium, state your name and the town in which you reside. Any person, the public, at this time, I would like to move on to agenda item number 36, which is recognition of legislators. Anyone wish to speak? Legislator Birmingham.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I'd like to thank my colleagues for the warm welcome you've given myself, and I would imagine also Legislator Russo. I know I could probably speak for her in saying that we're both very happy to be joining this legislature. I've known many of you for decades, and some of you I've just met this year, and I'm very much looking forward to not only working with my colleagues on the legislature, but also, of course, working with the members of law enforcement through our sheriff and our district attorney, of course, our county clerk who led us into this evening tonight, and of course the county administration, including, of course, County Executive Kevin Byrne and all of his department heads. Very much looking forward to that, and looking forward to a good 2025. Thank you.
Legislator Goldman.
Thank you, gentlemen. I'd like to congratulate you, Amy, on your new position as chair. It's not going to be easy, but you'll do a wonderful job, and I'm looking forward to moving the page for a positive 2025. Also to the two new members of this board, Dan Birmingham and Laura Russo. Looking forward to work with you, and it's going to be a positive few years. Thank you.
Legislator Yonke.
I'd like to congratulate you, Legislator Sage and Deputy Chair Elner, on your new positions. Also, welcome to Legislator Russo and Legislator Birmingham. Look forward to working with you this year.
Legislator Montgomery.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd like to talk about the end of last year, on December 31st at 5 p.m. We got a memo from the then chairman of the legislature removing the chairwoman of the Ag Board. And it was very surprising. I asked for an explanation for that. I didn't receive one, and I'm wanting to read a letter that was sent to us by a member of the public regarding that issue. Dear members of the legislature, I'm writing to address the December 31 memo issued by former Chairman Paul Yonke, which unilaterally announced the removal of Chairwoman Jocelyn Epicello from the County Agricultural and Farmland Protection Board. This action raises serious legal, procedural, and ethical questions that demand immediate attention and accountability. While New York State Agriculture and Markets Law does vaguely outline that the chairperson shall appoint, this provision does not grant unilateral removal authority. The law is silent on such a significant action, and in the absence of explicit statutory language, any decision to remove a member should adhere to local governance procedures and established practices. The lack of clear statutory authority makes it even more critical that removal decisions follow transparent and collaborative process. Moreover, appointments to the PCSEA are historically presented by the Physical Services Committee, which involves a formal review and vote before final approval. To demonstrate this, I have attached examples of instances where appointments to the Ag Board and other advisory boards and positions have followed this exact process through the Physical Service Committee. The unilateral removal of a chairwoman Epicello bypasses this established procedure, undermining the integrity of legislative process and further compounding concerns about transparency and due process. The sole reasoning provided for Chairwoman Epicello's removal in the December 31st memo that the decision was made because Mr. Yonke believed it was in the best interest of Putnam County is vague, insufficient, and wholly unsatisfactory. This generic statement offers no substantive explanation or justification for such an extreme action, leaving both the public and stakeholders in the agricultural community questioning the legitimacy of this decision. Furthermore, the lack of detail denies any meaningful opportunity for accountability or recourse. Additionally, the assertion that Chairwoman Epicello has the ability to express her interest to a future chairperson as the only recourse close to a meaningful appeals process is inadequate and frankly dismissive of basic standards of fairness. This statement does not constitute an appeals process in any legitimate sense. It merely shifts responsibility to an unknown future official with no clear procedure, timeline, or guarantee of consideration. Such a vague and ad hoc approach erodes confidence in the legislature's ability to act with transparency and fairness. This action also occurs against a troubling backdrop of obstruction of the Ag Board, which has not been able to conduct a full meeting since August of 2024. In both September and October, Soil and Water staff members Neil Toman and Dave Vickery exited the Ag Board meetings shortly after they began citing direction from the legislature and legislative attorney, I don't remember telling them not to meet, as their reason for leaving. Their departures, knowing full well that they would disrupt quorum and halt any productivity, reflect an alarming misuse of authority. In October's instance, these staff members refused to stay even long enough to achieve a quorum necessary to vote on meeting minutes approvals dating back to July 2024, despite Chairwoman Epicello's direct request. This is a clear and troubling example of county officials and employees weaponizing the structure and composition of the Agricultural and Farmland Protection Board to obstruct its work and undermine its mission. This memo, issued on the final day of Mr. Yonke's term as chairperson, is emblematic of a broader pattern of alarming actions that lack transparency and suggest a deliberate effort to marginalize agriculture in Putnam County. These actions raise serious concerns about potential abuse of authority and disregard for due process, not only in this instance, but across his term as chairperson. Such behavior erodes public trust and raises serious questions about accountability within our local government. Agriculture is a cornerstone of Putnam County's identity and economy, and is supported by the overwhelming majority of its residents, and it deserves the unwavering support and fair representation of its elected officials. I respectfully request a formal, detailed explanation for the removal of Chairwoman Epicello, including any specific and compelling reasons for this decision. Additionally, I urge the legislature to outline what corrective actions will be taken to address this improper removal, ensure such unilateral actions do not occur again, and restore not only the integrity of the Ag Board, but also the transparency, accountability, and trust in the legislature's process as a whole. This matter cannot and should not be ignored, as it strikes at the heart of fair governance and public trust. Sincerely, Cassandra Roth. And I'm very disheartened that Dr. Epicello, who served the county well, who serves the region in food insecurity, teaching farmers across the region, creating public programs for public health and teaching. It's just very disheartening that was the last memo we got in 2024. And I asked for an explanation and still did not get one.
Any other legislator to recognize? Legislator Erroneous?
Congratulations, Chairwoman. And I'd just like to welcome and say congratulations to our newly elected legislators. Looking forward to 2025 and being able to serve our county and the people of Putnam.
Anyone else? Well, I would just like to first welcome our returning legislators, Legislator Montgomery and returning Legislator Birmingham and Legislator Russo. Congratulations to my colleague on the legislature, Greg Elner, as Deputy County Chair. I'd also like to thank Legislator Yonke for his past 2 years as chair at the legislature, which I know and am learning every day, which is no easy feat. He always stood strong on principle and holds his office as county legislator with honor and integrity to the charter and rules of the Putnam County Legislature. This is the beginning of my 8th year on the legislature. Each year is a new beginning and a fresh start. I think we've talked about that tonight. It's a time to reflect and learn from the past and move forward to a bright future. I'm humbled and honored to begin 2025 as a new legislative chair, and I look forward to serving Putnam County in this new capacity. There have been 24 chairs in the legislature since the county charter took effect on January 1st, 1979. Over this past 24 chairs over the past 46 years, there have been just 4 women who served as chair of the legislature. I am now the 25th chair and the 5th woman to sit as chair of the legislature. One of whom I serve with Legislator Adjournment is here with us today. When I first ran for office back in 2014 for the legislature, I was honored to be called by the very first legislator of this Putnam County, Marie Zarcone. She was the very first woman to be elected legislator here in Putnam County. And may she rest in peace. She recently passed away. But as a mother of 2 daughters, it struck me, and it's poignant to me. And I have a son too, and I don't want to disrespect the gentlemen in this room because you all have, have a lot of shoulders to stand on. But I'm honored and I'm humbled to sit as chair on the shoulders of those ladies who served before me. I will do my utmost to lead as chair, holding tight to the values and principles and the integrity and high standards to the Putnam County Legislature. And with that, I will make a motion to adjourn. Should I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.